I look into the stars, and I think to myself, what wonder, those stars. I imagine the stars then look back to me, only to say, what wonder, this star. Indeed, we are all stars, and all like stars, we fall. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Pharaoh, let my people go. I've come back to my old slave quarters for 3 reasons. 1, to address my former slave master with choice words before I perform the deed. And 2, to address you. For I hear some of you all are planning on migrating north, thinking there you'll experience greater freedom. But I'll assure you, there's no more freedom there than here. Only a different kind of slavery. And 3, to rediscover my purpose. After fighting slavery for some years, now that we're still not free, I'm not sure what my purpose is anymore. For 10 or 15 years, I had been dragging, as it were, a chain which no strength of mine could break. Not only was I a slave, but I was a slave for life. I might become a husband, a father, an aged man. But through all, from birth to death, from the cradle to the grave, I felt myself doomed to be a slave forever. A free man once told me that thoughts are words naked. Words are thoughts clothed. Action is the ground on which thoughts walk. I'm thoroughly convinced I'm standing here before you, a free man, 1, because of God, and 2, because I've come to understand the power of words, the power of thoughts, and the power of action. To be a slave is unnatural. You will soon see severe training is necessary. But to be free is natural. All you have to do to be free is be. I'd rather myself a bird, a beast, or a thing, but never a slave. Never a slave, never a slave. The first experience with life with me began with my grandmother, Betsy Bailey, an old settler of sorts. She was held in high esteem, far higher than most colored persons in slave states. Oh, I don't know, it's because I was too old for field service, or because I so faithfully performed my duties early in life. I don't know. All I know is I enjoyed the high privilege of living in a cabin separate from the slave quarter with no other burden than taking care of all the children around the plantation. You know, the plantation was so poor that even the slave master's children had to come to get old grandma's gifts. Yes! I was famous for making nets for catching fish. And not only was I famous for making the nets, I was also famous for catching the fish. I'd be out there, sometimes half day. Well, we said some of the slave masters be out there all day. Even they had to come to get them some fish to feed their families. Yes, I took care of all children around the plantation, including little Freddie. Freddie! 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 Freddie, if you don't get your high yellow behind up here, it'll be a cold day in Lucifer's backyard if I don't beat all the blacks left on you. You've been playing in the chicken coop, haven't you? Didn't I tell you not to play in the chicken coop? Didn't I tell you not to play in the chicken coop? Now you get in there right now, you get grandma's nets so we can go out and go fishing. Yay! Being a black boy, I don't get in trouble for what the other boys get in trouble for. No, sir, I don't get in trouble for eating my fork and knife wrong, because we ain't got no fork and knives. I don't get in trouble for eating my tablecloth dirty, because we eat our meals on the floor. I don't get in trouble for getting my clothes dirty, because my clothes are already dirty. I get to be as bad as I want to be. I get to play with the roosters. I get to play with the horses. I get to play with the cows. And I can play with the chickens. I love imitating chickens. I can walk like a chicken. I can talk like a chicken. I can peck my neck in the ground like a chicken. And I get to eat the chickens. I run as wild. They call me Little Chicken Fred, but my grandmama don't like it though. She says she don't want me to grow up to be a chicken who's a scaredy cat. I don't want to go be no chicken who's a scaredy cat, because I don't like cats. But I love chickens. And one day, I was running for my grandmama, and it seemed like she pulled out this brown leather belt, and she began flashing at me like lightning. But she couldn't catch me though, because playing with chickens taught me how to run fast. I'd run through her legs, I'd jump over her shoulders, I'd run around her, and then one day, I was running for my grandmama, and it seemed like her fist grew long and traveled faster than a horse after hearing the sound of a gunshot. And when I saw what was coming from my face, it was my grandmama's big black fist knocking me to the black of the nuts. But when I woke up, I would often overhear her telling me stories. And one story she'd tell me is a famous story, and it's all about an eagle who thought he was a chicken too. One day, an eagle's egg was placed into the nest of chickens. And one day the eaglet hatched, and he looked around and he saw he was surrounded by all these little chickens. So the eagle, he began to act like a chicken too. The eagle began to walk like a chicken, talked like a chicken, pecked his neck in the ground like a chicken, and flew only a few feet off the ground like a chicken. Then one day, the eagle grew up, and he looked into the sky, and he saw a speck, and the speck became a ball, and the ball became a bird, and the bird became a huge beast, flying in the sky, soaring in the winds. And the eagle, who thought he was a chicken, said to his neighbor who was a chicken, "Wow! What kind of bird is that? I want to be just like him." And his friend said, "Oh, well, that's an eagle, the king of all the birds. But don't you give it a second thought. You'll never be like him." So the eagle, he never gave it a second thought, and he died one day still thinking he was a chicken. What a tragedy. Built to soar in the heavens, but he spent the rest of his life flying only a few feet off the ground. And my grandma would say, "Freddie, never settle for less than the best, and always be the best you can be." It was a strong influence on that boy. But unfortunately, the time came for little Freddie to be taken away from me. The slave master had need of some more slaves on another plantation, and they wanted to take little Freddie from me. He had brothers and sisters over there he didn't even know. I had to keep the sad fact from him, because if I had told him, there would have been no keeping him. So I got him up early one Sunday morning, and I told him we'd go for a walk in the woods. And after walking about 20 miles, he would hold on to my hand so tight. He was afraid of everything. He'd often think logs to be wild beasts and trees to be monsters, but I would hold on to his hand tight, and I'd sing to him to calm him down. I want Jesus to walk with me. I want Jesus to walk with me on this lonesome journey. I want Jesus to walk with me. And I let him off my shoulders. So go on and play with your little brothers and sisters. It's okay. Like all little boys, he ran on and played. It was the last smile I saw on little Ben's face while he was playing, having a good time. I quietly made my way back out into the woods before he could see me. But it wasn't long before I could hear him crying after me, "Grandmama! Grandmama! Grandmama! I want my grandmama! Where's my grandmama?" And I wanted so bad to go back after him, but it would have endangered his life and mine. So I just kept singing to myself, ignoring the screams. I want Jesus to walk with me. I want Jesus to walk with me. I'm on this lonesome journey. I want Jesus to walk with me. And I never saw my grandmother again. I'm here. I have so many words of hatred overflowing in me. I can still feel the bloody whip on our back and hear our cries. Maybe if I just attack them with my words, maybe to prevent. Write it down. Write it down. I'll write it down. Sir, the long and intimate relationship that exists between you and myself will hopefully help you understand why I address you in this open and public manner. Not long ago, your bright sun held me a slave. And though I left by daylight, I was making a leap in the dark. You, sir, can never know my feelings. There were several instances between slave master and slave that would eventually lead up to a major confrontation between my slave master and myself that would change my life forever. Nothing was more humiliating and heart-saddening than the whipping of old Barney. Old Barney was a good slave. He was well skilled, horse medicines, and removed lambers from horses' mouths. They got presents from them, but he also got stripes as well. For nothing was more intolerable than the mismanagement of my horses. Their beds must be softer and cleaner than some of my human cattle. And if Barney or any other slave would have mismanaged my horses, they must stand in front of me, hat in hand, lips sealed, never answering a word. Barney, take off your hat. Yes, sir. Barney, take off your jacket also. Yes, sir. Barney, down on your knees. Excuse me, sir? Down on your knees. My old feeble knees touching the damp cold ground, my head glistening in the sun, my shoulders bare to the wind. Now, here are two men There's the silvery locks of the slave master and the worn-out brow of old Barney. Master, slave, superior and inferior here, but equals at the bar of God. And the slave master, to whom Barney had given the best years of his life, came forward and laid some 40 lashes on him, and the screams and the yells of old Barney infuriated the wrath of the slave master. "Have mercy on me," he cried. "Have mercy on me," he cried. And after laying some 40 lashes on him, he cut him down. He could hardly stand when the slave master finished with him. The child I was, it left in me feelings far, far from peaceful. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. I am myself. You, sir, are yourself. We are two distinct but equal persons. What you are, I am. You are a man, and so am I. I cannot walk with your legs, neither can you with mine. I cannot breathe for you, neither you for me. I must breathe for myself. I was eventually taken to another plantation under a more satisfactory master and mistress. Her name was Miss Sofa, and here I was surrounded by the house slaves. It was a drastic change. House slaves ate well, they spoke well, they dressed well, and I come to find out that Miss Sofa took delight in me because she loved chocolate. See, when she was a child, her mother took delight in making her little chocolate men, and taking delight in such men, she took delight in me as her little chocolate Freddy. Little chocolate Freddy could do no wrong with Miss Sofa. I couldn't even approach her the way I approached my old slave master and mistress, for she was more like a mother to me. And I would often overhear her reading the Bible, which sparked in me a desire to read, which was against the law. I simply asked her to teach me to read, and do you know she taught me without hesitation? Over time, kind little chocolate Freddy could read. I could write, and I could spell words. But when her husband found out about it, he was very angry, which you think would have discouraged me, but in fact encouraged me on the power of the written and spoken word. He'd go on to say, "Oh, it's unruly, and would do much harm and cause mischief. You give a slave an inch, he's liable to take a foot. You teach that slave how to read, he's going to want to learn how to write. And you teach him how to read the Bible, he'll be running away with himself." It was the first anti-slavery lecture I had ever heard. All right. I now knew that reading and writing was my direct pathway from slavery to freedom. Indeed, this chicken was becoming an eagle. Light had come, knowledge had increased, but the price I would eventually have to pay as a teenager would be the iron chain around my wrist and the bloody whip on my back. A black child is no threat to any plantation at all, as long as he's a child. But when he becomes a man, he becomes a severe threat. Add reading and education to that, and the slave master could find his whole plantation revolutionized. I was taken to another plantation as a teenager under a horrible slave master. They called him the Negro Breaker. Seeing that I could read, he began beating me every day, which is why I'm out here today. He caught me reading a book. It's all about a swan who thought he was an ugly duck. The first time he beat me was after doing the work of 10 men. I fell out in the hot sun. The next time he beat me was after having trouble controlling mules. He laid some 60 lashes on me. He beat me every day. Except Sunday. He was a religious man. And he felt that day to be holy. So he wholly kept from whipping on me. Work, work, work was the order of the day. We worked from sun up to sundown. And finally the desire to read died. The light of being free went away. And behold, this eagle transformed back into a chicken, a man into a brute. All is fear here. I see the master's face reflected in the night sky. We reflect the trees. Even though we're rooted in the earth, our branches are frozen in terrified time. How is it that so few stars could control the black night? How is it that so few men could control us? I began to make my way as far away as I could from the plantation, but when I got out into the woods, they send out dogs to chase after us. So when I saw the water, I decided to step into the water so the dogs wouldn't be able to smell my scent. I remembered a song my grandmother would sing to me. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. I remember as I was wading in the water, I began thinking to myself, I was told that God was good, but that he made white people to be slave masters and black people to be slaves. But this went against all my notions of goodness. It wasn't good that I should be separated from my grandmother. It wasn't good that old Barney should be beaten so. It wasn't good that I should be beaten so. All was dark here. But the light of truth pierces the darkness. It's not color, but crime. It's not God, but man that causes slavery. This truth led to another truth that man could make, God could break, and I would be that vessel through which God would work. I began making my way back to the plantation to confront the slave master, saying, I made a vow to the Lord, and I won't turn back. I will go, I shall go, to see what the end's gonna be. If you get to heaven before I do, to see what the end's gonna be. Tell all of my friends I'm coming to see what the end's gonna be. I made a vow to the Lord, and I won't turn back. I will go, I shall go, to see what the end's gonna be. And the manner of the master's face astonished me. He spoke to me as never before. Perhaps my meditation in the water had more virtue in it than but I had forgotten. It was Sunday, the day of the Master's holiness. All went well until Monday morning, and the smile that graced the Master's face on Sunday wholly disappeared on Monday, and he began beating me into the ridiculous. But then something in me changed. I suddenly saw myself as powerful and forgot about my fears and remembered my God. He called in the slave masters, and I began to fight against them too. I fought against them all day, and I come to find out that the only reason why he didn't hang me was because of his reputation of being a Negro breaker. Instead, he kept it a secret by sending me into the city to build ships. And over time, I learned his skill, and I was soon able to set myself free. And I was no longer a Negro, but a hero amongst the slaves. I was free in my body, but was I free in my mind? A contest of thoughts had gone on inside me. One held me a slave punished for the sins of my skin, and the other held me free, exalted by the grace of God. The contest ended, and I knew I was free, and I began to celebrate with exceeding joy. You, sir, are the holder of two of my sisters and my only brother. They are recorded on your ledger somewhere, or perhaps you've sold them off to some other human flesh monger. Whatever happened to them? And whatever happened to my grandmother? For she was more like a mother and a father to me. This deed I intend on doing to you, though horrible it would be on my part, is no less horrible than what you've done to my grandmother, my two sisters, and my only brother. Frederick, where are you going with this? This will take you off the starry road to freedom, put you to bondage. You shall hear from me again, unless I hear from you. I shall expose you and the institution of slavery, with my speaking and my writing bringing you and that institution to repentance. In this, I shall hold no malice toward you. For there's no place in my home you cannot stay if need be. And nothing in my home I would not readily give you. For I shall use you as an example of how mankind should treat each other. For I am your fellow man, but not your slave. Yours truly, Frederick Douglass. Without struggle, there is no progress. Freedom is not given. Freedom is taken and realized. You all are planning on migrating north, thinking there you will experience greater freedom, but I'll assure you there's no more freedom there than here. Only a different kind of slavery. For a slave state is nothing but a negative state of mind. And a free state is nothing but a positive state of mind. And the starry road to freedom are those positive words, those positive thoughts, those positive actions that lead to a free life. I shall continue in the future, as I have in the past, to fight for freedom, using my pen, my voice, and my vote, to promote the universal, unconditional emancipation of my entire race. Forgiveness is freedom. And covers a multitude of sins. I look at you all and think to myself, what wonder those stars swing low, sweet area, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet area, coming for to carry me home. I looked into the woods, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. I saw Harriet Tubman coming to set me free, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low.